Coming up on Locked On Dodgers, when I recorded my little video after the end of the Dodgers game to post on Twitter to tease this episode, I said there wasn't really much to talk about this game. Guess what? Turns out I was wrong. There's a lot to talk about. So much to talk about with Tony Gonsolin, the offense, Freddie Freeman, Mookie Betts, hard hit balls, a bunch of other stuff. So let's get Locked On Dodgers.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, Dodger fans. This is Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every weekday morning. Remember, this show is free and available on all podcast platforms and on YouTube simply by searching for Locked On Dodgers. Or even better, you can go ahead and subscribe wherever you're watching or listening right now, and then you'll never miss a day because you know we're not going to. If this is your first time listening or watching, my name is Jeff Snider. My co-host is Vince Samperio, but it's just me today. Vince and I are both lifelong Dodger fans just like you are. We've also both spent time covering the Dodgers in the press box and the locker room, so we're not quite insiders, but we bring you the smart fans' perspective on our boys in blue every weekday morning. As you may be able to tell, if you're a regular listener or viewer, my voice is a little different tonight. I am battling a cold, but I am a gamer. I am here because the Dodgers broke their losing streak. They beat the White Sox 4-1 on Wednesday night. Is that what day it is as I'm recording? I believe it's Wednesday. Tony Gonsolin is now 7-0. He did what we expect Tony Gonsolin to do these days. He went out and threw 6 innings, allowed 1 run, despite not having his best stuff. It's actually at least 2 starts in a row that he's said afterwards he didn't really have his best stuff, and but he battled through. The interesting one this time was that it was the splitter that he didn't have a great feel for. And I want to talk about Tony Gonsolin and just kind of his evolution as a pitcher. You know, I talked last week about how my opinion that part of the reason for his success this year is that he had finally overcome what I called the learning curve of being a changeup pitcher in the big leagues because big league hitters don't chase as much as minor league hitters do. And so with the changeup being a chase pitch, you know, his splitter is his changeup. With it being a chase pitch, it's harder. There's more of an adjustment each time you go up a level because the hitters are a little bit better and less likely to chase those pitches for you. Uh, the interesting thing about this, you know, Gonsolin said after the game he only threw about 6 changeups for strikes. Turns out it was actually 7, but that's out of 18 of them that he threw. And you know, only throwing 18 changeups or splitters, whatever you want to call it, same thing. When we're talking about Gonsolin, only throwing 18 of them is a little bit low. Dave Roberts mentioned after the game, the White Sox have kind of a righty heavy lineup, and you know, most changeup pitchers use it more against opposite-handed hitters to kind of neutralize them because the ball has a natural tailing action arm side, so it moves away from the left-handed hitters for a right-handed pitcher. And Gonsolin isn't afraid to throw the splitter to a right-hander, but you know, with so many righties in the lineup, it was fewer ideal situations. And then when he was throwing it, he wasn't really throwing it for strikes. But the interesting thing was he threw 37 fastballs and 29 of them were for strikes. That was huge. And so for me, it's kind of a sign of becoming a more complete pitcher when your best pitch isn't working, but you're able to kind of shift on the fly to something else and have success with it. You know, the fact that Gonsolin has overcome the learning curve with the splitter is great. But what we saw on Wednesday night was kind of that next step where, okay, on a game when the splitter isn't working, what do I have? And he had other stuff. You know, the slider, it it's kind of the pitch that he throws to righties in place where he would throw a changeup to a lefty. And even that wasn't landing great. He only got 2 swings and misses on it. Only 7 swings and misses overall. But that's kind of where the other great thing about Tony Gonsolin this year comes into play, which is his ability to limit hard contact. You know, overall this year, he's in the 98th percentile in hard hit percentage. 98th meaning good, meaning he's, you know, only 2% of pitchers have a better hard hit percentage, meaning a lower hard hit percentage than he does. And that's why his expected slugging average and expected WOBA are both in the 90th percentile, even though he's only, quote unquote, only in the 58th percentile in whiff rate. He doesn't get a ton of swings and misses, but he gets a lot of weak contact. And if you're a regular listener, you may think I'm being a hypocrite because I have criticized might not be the right word. But I mean, one of my issues with Brusdar Graterol has been that he's not getting swings and misses. And so even though he gets weak contact, he's giving up too many runs. And I stand by that. But also, uh, starting pitchers and relief pitchers are different. And so that's one thing that's important to remember. But also, if you look at Baseball Savant, if you're not familiar with Baseball Savant, it's awesome. Just go to baseballsavant.mlb.com. You can search for any player, and then it's got these cool little graphics at the top of each page with their percentile rankings and all these things. And if you look at Tony Gonsolin's, a lot of dark red, hard hit percentage, 98th percentile, xWOBA, 90th percentile, xERA, 90th, x batting average, expected batting average, 87th percentile, expected slugging, 90th percentile. And then some lighter red, average exit velocity, 68th, barrel percentage, 74th, strikeout percentage, 67th, chase rate, 67th, whiff rate, that's a swing and miss rate, 58th percentile. If you look at Brusdar Graterol, he's got a lot of red, including fastball velocity, 98th percentile. And Brusdar Graterol is in the 100th percentile in hard hit percentage. He is absolutely outstanding at limiting hard contact. People don't hit the ball hard off Graterol, but his strikeout rate, 39th percentile, whiff rate, 32nd percentile. Remember, those were 67th and 58th for Gonsolin. So we're a full, 20 percentile points lower. And I think that 20 points, there's a big difference there. Even if you don't factor in that you expect more strikeouts from a relief pitcher, allowing that much more contact, even if it's weak, it's going to come back to bite you sometimes. So Tony Gonsolin, it's been outstanding to see what he's been able to do and what he did on Wednesday. It's kind of a tough situation to be in. It's really hard to lower your ERA when it comes in at 159, because if you go 6 innings and allow 1 run, that's a 150 ERA for that game. So his ERA only went from 159 to 158 on Wednesday. Still good enough to lead the National League. He's outstanding. He's great. And I don't know if they would actually consider starting him at pitcher in the All-Star game. It seems like a foregone conclusion at this point. Gonsolin's going to make the All-Star team. I think he's got a chance to be the starting pitcher in the All-Star game. And that would be crazy, but crazier things have happened. And, it'll be Brian Snitker choosing the starting pitcher for the All-Star game because he's the manager, because the Braves won the World Series last year, blah, 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 blah. And so I don't know. I'm not sure. I don't really have any insight into how Brian Snitker thinks. And I think that's totally up to him, though, choosing who the starter is. And so it'll be interesting to see. But with the game being at Dodger Stadium and Gonsolin going in as the Dodgers' best pitcher, at least as we're sitting here on June 9th, I wouldn't be shocked at all to see Gonsolin not just making the All-Star team, but starting the All-Star game. And obviously there's still another 5 or 6 starts between now and the All-Star game. And, things could derail, but I feel like Tony Gonsolin's for real. I feel like the changes he's made this year are legit. And I think he's going to, like I've said before, he's not going to finish the season with an ERA this low probably, but I do think he's for real and he's going to have a really good season and hopefully keep this good season going at least to the All-Star game and get himself an All-Star start. That would be pretty awesome for a guy who has never even sniffed an All-Star team before. So that's it on Gonsolin. Again, he stopped a losing streak for the second start in a row. He has been everything the Dodgers could have hoped for this year. I'm going to talk in a minute about the offense. There was a lot of hard hit balls today by the Dodgers and not a lot of luck on them. So we're going to talk about some of those numbers, what they might mean, et cetera, et cetera. So thank you for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every day. And please keep it Locked On Dodgers. Let's talk about Built Bar, shall we? Built Bar, as you know, if you are a regular listener to this show, Built Bar is a protein bar that tastes like a candy bar. It's delicious and nutritious. I'm not just saying this because they tell me to. I love Built Bars. My pantry is full of Built Bars, some that they've sent me for free and a whole lot that I've paid my own money for because I love this product. I am happy to pay money for it. I'm lucky. I live near the Built Bar headquarters, and so they're actually available in grocery stores and gas stations and stuff where I live. They probably aren't where you live, but you know what? They're easy to get your hands on. So let me explain to you again a little bit why you should. They're delicious. They're low carb, low sugar, low calorie, high protein, high fiber. All the good stuff, none of the bad stuff. They taste really good. You feel like you're eating a candy bar, except you don't have to feel guilty. And so, if that sounds like something that could work for you, just need a quick snack, take it on the go. Great. This is a great snack food. So many wonderful things about Built Bar. You should get them. And when you order them, just go to built.com and use promo code LOCKED15 and you will get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. All right, I am back. I want to tell you about a survey that the Locked On Podcast Network has put out. It's a survey so we can learn more about listeners like you and make your favorite Locked On podcast even better. This is your opportunity to tell us what you like and don't like about Locked On Podcasts. Go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey right now to get started. It won't take very long, and everyone that completes the survey can qualify for a chance to win one of 10 $100 Ticketmaster gift cards. To take our audience survey, go to lockedonpodcast.com/survey. Thank you for your help. All right, I am back to talk more about this Dodgers 4-1 victory over the White Sox. Offensively, the Dodgers didn't get a ton going, but they got some big hits when they needed them. They hit 3 home runs. That accounted for all 4 of their runs. Home runs by Will Smith, Cody Bellinger, and Trey Turner. Interestingly, in the game that took Tony Gonsolin to 7-0 on the season, it was the 7th home run of the year for each of those 3 guys. Overall, the Dodgers had 14 of the 20 hard hit balls in this game, but a lot of hard hit balls went for outs today. 10 out of the 14 hard hit balls for the Dodgers were outs, and 4 out of the 6 for the White Sox. The White Sox had a home run and a double. Everything else they hit that was hard hit was an out. And some of that was bad luck. Mookie Betts and Jose Abreu each had scorched ground outs with really high expected batting averages. Abreu's expected batting average was 560. Mookie's was 610. And some of them it wasn't so much bad luck as they just barely missed the ball. There were 6 hard hit flyouts that all had expected batting averages well under 100. Yohan Moncada had 1, and then 5 for the Dodgers. Will Smith and Justin Turner each had 1, and Mookie had 3. Overall, Mookie had one of the hardest hit 0 for 4s you'll ever see. He had a 103.3 mile an hour flyout in the first inning, 103.4 mile an hour ground out in the third, a 97.3 mile an hour flyout in the fifth, and a 97.4 mile an hour flyout in the eighth. 4 hard hit balls, 0 hits to show for them, and realistically, only the 1 ground ball you could say should have been a hit. But even the flyouts, it's like, okay, he just barely missed it. And the fact that Mookie's still hitting the ball hard, that's a good sign. Hopefully he's going to bounce back. One guy who didn't have a great game, no matter how you slice it, was Freddie Freeman. He was 0 for 4. He had a weak ground out, and he had 3 strikeouts. It's his first 3 strikeout game as a Dodger, and only the 70th of his career and just the 20th in the last 6 seasons. It's kind of interesting. Freeman in 2016 had by far the most strikeouts of his career. I think 171 strikeouts that year. And he had 15 games with 3 or more strikeouts in the game, and then just won the next year in 2017. Now, he didn't play as many games. Hold on, this cold is coming. I'm about to sneeze. Hold on. I had the presence of mind to hit my mute button. You're welcome. I'm leaving that in. In 2017, he didn't play quite as many games as he had in 2016, but still, going from 15 3-strikeout games to 1 was a huge. You can kind of see the change in Freeman from year to year, that his strikeout percentage from the start of his career, starting in 2010, strikeout percentage year 33.3. 22.4, 20.8, 19.2, 20.5, 20.4, and 24.7. That's in 2016. By far the highest of his career, 24.7, other than his partial year, his first season. And then starting in 2017, those percentages, 18.5, 18.7, 18.4. So he dropped down, got better. And then starting in 2020, 14.1, 15.4, and this year, 13.4. So Freeman over the years has become much better at making contact. And But the interesting thing about him, even though he's done it in slightly different ways over the years, one of the huge things about him has been consistency. We look at his year-to-year stats, like, man, this guy is as consistent as they come. And so then you look at, well, what's going on? Because after going 4 for 5 on May 26th, Freddie Freeman was batting 312 with an 899 OPS for the season. In the 12 games since then, he's batting 184 with a 470 OPS. And so it's easy to look at the consistency he's had over the years and think, what's going on? Why isn't he being consistent? But I think sometimes we see consistency from season to season, and we forget that even a consistent, quote unquote, consistent stretch like that can look extremely inconsistent if we actually look close enough. Every hitter has these stretches. And we saw it, I mentioned this the other day. We saw it with Freeman in the postseason last year when I think he struck out his first 7 at bats of the NLCS against the Dodgers. And then he got on a tear and he didn't change anything. He just figured it out and kept doing what he was doing and hit great the rest of the postseason. So, the fact that Freeman is in a down stretch right now, I think Vince said it last week on the show, that kind of gives you hope, because Freddie having a down stretch means there's a hot stretch coming, because he's going to end the season around 300 with an OPS around 900. And so the fact that his OPS is only 812 on the season right now, that's great news for us. Is it 812? 805. Yeah, that's great news for us. He's going to add 95 points to his OPS-ish in the next couple months. That's awesome, because a hot stretch is coming for Freeman. And, the 3-strikeout game, it is an anomaly. It's a blip, and it will not mean much going forward. All right. I'm going to come back in just a minute. I'm going to actually do some more Baseball Savant talking. These pages are really cool, and I'm just going to share some numbers. I would encourage you, if you're watching this on YouTube, follow along with me and pull up these players as you're listening, and look at these numbers with me. They'll actually be a little different if you do that, because this updates daily, and I'm recording this on Wednesday night, and so we don't have Wednesday's game included in these numbers, but they'll still be pretty similar. So I'm going to look at a few different guys on that when I come back. So thank you again for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen, and please keep it locked on Dodgers. All right, I am back now, and as promised, we're going to look at Baseball Savant at some of these players. I thought first I'd look at the 3 guys who hit home runs on Wednesday and just see what's going on with them this year. Will Smith is an interesting one, because as we all know, Will Smith's raw numbers aren't what we expect from him this year. His batting average is down. Everything is down. His slugging percentage is down. But if you look at what his expected numbers, like his slugging percentage this year is 409. His expected slugging percentage is 526. The difference, 409 is really bad and 526 is really good. That's the easiest way to put that. There's a huge gap there. Expected slugging percentage is based on the quality of contact, how hard he's hitting the ball, how consistently he's hitting it. And if you look at these percentile rankings, you can see that. The only offensive ranking that's in blue is his max exit velocity. It's kind of interesting. The hardest he's hit the ball this year was 107.4. That's actually not bad. 37th percentile. It's just because there's so many guys excuse me, max exit velocity is literally what's the hardest ball you've hit this year. Only got to do it once to show up there. Will Smith is more of a consistent, I'm just going to keep hitting the ball hard. And that's why if you look at his hard hit percentage, 66th percentile, average exit velocity, 67th percentile. So even though his max exit velocity is only down at 37th, his average exit velocity is 67th, which means he's not hitting weak balls very often. It's just consistently, boom, I'm just going to keep hitting the ball between 95 and 105 miles an hour and expect good stuff to happen. Hold on. I got a cough because this cold is really getting me. 1 second. Excuse me. I'm just going to take a drink of water and then we'll continue. Sorry, guys. I know it's not great podcast listening, but I am battling this cold, and I appreciate you guys sticking with me, even though my voice is a little bit off, and I occasionally have to pause to make noises related to having a cold. But Will Smith, his expected WOBA. WOBA is weighted on base average, which is it's a statistical number. It's all based on, it's too complex to explain, but the easy thing to remember is it's on a scale of similar to on base percentage, where 330 ish is league average, and so anything better is better. Obviously, anything higher is better. And then expected WOBA is what should his WOBA be based on the quality of contact. Just like I said, his expected slugging percentage is 526, even though his slugging percentage is only 409. Well, his WOBA is 324, but his expected WOBA is 386. So his WOBA is slightly below average. And in this year's offensive environment, actually 324 might be right around average. But his expected WOBA is 386, which, if you look on these rankings of the percentiles, that's 89th percentile. That's among everybody. Everyone in the major leagues, expected WOBA, Will Smith is 89th percentile. He is a catcher. Catchers aren't supposed to hit that well. Will Smith, even with his struggles, is still one of the best hitting catchers in the game, and his underlying numbers say he should be easily the best hitting catcher in the game. And it's going to come. Bad luck can't continue forever. There's no reason to think. Some of the other interesting numbers on his percentiles, his chase rate, 100th percentile, meaning there's nobody in baseball better at not chasing pitches out of the strike zone than Will Smith. Whiff rate, 89th percentile. He's one of the best in baseball at not swinging and missing. His walk rate, 94th percentile. He gets on base. Strikeout rate, 73rd percentile. He's really good at not striking out. Barrel percentage is 63 percentile, solid. Sprint speed, only 54th percentile for a catcher. I bet that's one of the best ones in the league. That's Will Smith for us. A lot of interesting stuff on the Baseball Savant. They don't pay me. They're not advertising, but there's a lot of cool info there. And just kind of go, it's an easy way to look and see, okay, they've got cool expected numbers. You can say, okay, obviously he's not doing great right now, but let's see what he should be doing. And so that's what it can help you with. And before we get to the other two guys who homered, why don't we segue there? Guys who aren't doing great, and see if his expected numbers look a little better. Let's look at Justin Turner. Justin Turner, not having a great season. He had a good couple weeks. He's cooled off a little bit the last week or week and a half. And if you look at his numbers, yeah, it's better than you would expect. His slugging percentage is 365. His expected slugging this year is 464. He's hit some balls hard. He's had some bad luck. His WOBA is 293. His expected WOBA is 342. So he's well below average, and he should be a little bit above average. But even that 342 expected WOBA, Justin Turner's career expected WOBA is 372. His worst in his career is 354, and he's at 342 right now. And the year that his expected WOBA was 354, his actual WOBA was 353. He's one of those guys. His WOBA and his expected WOBA almost always line up really, really closely. But this year, they're not. And so it's a combination of things. He's not doing as well, and he's had some bad luck. Now, if he could have a 342 WOBA, he'd be a perfectly serviceable member of the lineup. But that 293 WOBA, it's not getting the job done. So the question is, how soon can he hope to revert to what the expected numbers are saying? And for that, he's got to keep hitting the ball as well as he can. But really, I mean, he doesn't have great numbers in anything. He still doesn't strike out a ton, 69th percentile in strikeout percentage, 73rd in whiff percentage. He takes a walk, 57th percentile walk percentage. But yeah, I mean, his average exit velocity is only 42nd percentile, so he's not hitting the ball very hard. His max exit velocity is only 55th percentile, and his hard hit percentage is only 38th percentile. So again, even though he's having some bad luck, even the expected numbers are well below what we've come to expect from Justin Turner. So it's in the last year of his contract, it seems like we're nearing the end of the line for Justin Turner. The question is going to become, is that end of the line during this season, like at the trade deadline, when are they going to go find a replacement for him, or is it after this season? And maybe there's injuries. If there was one guy who we would expect to spend some time on the injured list, it's probably Justin Turner. And so maybe he gets a break that way at some point. But anyway, that's Justin Turner. Let's go back to the guys who hit home runs. Cody Bellinger had the second homer for the Dodgers. And as you know about Bellinger this year, He started out actually pretty okay, but he's not doing great at this point. His expected or his WOBA is also 296. Was that the same as Turner's? Uh, 296 WOBA, 293. So yeah, Bellinger's is 296, so just slightly better than Justin Turner's, but his expected WOBA is only 312. And so by the expected numbers, Justin Turner should be doing better than Cody Bellinger this year. He is not, but he should be. Cody Bellinger's expected slugging percentage is only 419. His career expected slugging is 498. His career expected WOBA is 357. And so he's underperforming by all measures. And if you look, his average exit velocity is decent, 69th percentile. Max exit velocity is only 35th percentile. The hardest ball he's hit this year is 107.3, whereas in previous years, 2017, 112.8, 2018, 112.9, and then 110.6, 110.6. And last year was just 107.4. But last year was a terrible year for Bellinger. That's not a year you want to replicate. And all of his stuff is expected WOBA, 32nd percentile, expected batting average, 23rd percentile, expected slugging, 39th percentile. So Cody Bellinger right now, he's kind of a defense first center fielder, but he can still occasionally, he has the ability to turn on one and hit one out. His speed can still make things happen, but there's still a lot of work to be done for Cody Bellinger to figure things out to get back to. I mean, he's not going to get back to the 2019 MVP form, but at this point, we take him getting back to 2018. Remember his down year in 2018? Yeah, his WOBA was 345. This year's 296. So we'd really take getting back to that down year at this point for Cody Bellinger. The last guy who hit a home run was Trey Turner. Turner's kind of interesting because he if you watch Trey Turner hit, sometimes you're like, how is this guy a good hitter? Because he swings at a bunch of garbage. And that is it shows up in the numbers in his percentiles on chase rate, 38th percentile. He is in the bottom of the as far as plate discipline. He swings at a lot of crap. 52%. So that crap. And he makes decent contact when they do bring it to the zone, and he swings at those. His strikeout percentage is only 62nd percentile, so he's decent, above average in strikeout percentage. Walk percentage is slightly below average, 48th percentile. Barrel percentage, 47th percentile. His max exit velocity, he actually hit 112.5 this year. So his max exit velocity is way up there in 88th percentile. And his average exit velocity is 83rd percentile, hard hit percentage, 89th percentile. And so when it comes to Trey Turner, even though he is he's chasing some stuff and he seemed kind of streaky, his overall numbers, he looks really good. He is hitting the ball really well. He's at 358 WOBA, which is well above average, very good. And he's had a little tiny bit of bad luck. His expected WOBA is actually a little bit higher at 366. His slugging percentage is 482, expected slugging 472. So he's actually had a little bit better luck with the slugging. But overall, Trey Turner, and like I said, these numbers will have gone up a little bit because Trey Turner went 2 for 4 in this game on Wednesday with that home run. But a good season for Trey Turner, and really starts to make things interesting when we start thinking about what the plans are for Trey Turner after this season. Dodgers are going to need a shortstop, whether that's staying internal with Gavin Lux or Jacob Amaya or something, or signing Trey Turner long-term, or going after a different free agent. Who knows? But, Trey Turner, you could do a lot worse than Turner. Turner is a very good hitter, and his spray chart's a lot of fun to see. They also have spray charts on Baseball Savant, and you can see he just hits the ball all over the field. Most of his extra base power comes to the pull side. He only has one double to the opposite field, but then he's got actually 2 triples right down the right field line. I think that might be his only 2 triples of the season. So yeah, his spray chart's fun to look at, and his percentile rankings are fun to look at because there's a lot of red there and some interesting numbers. You see numbers you don't necessarily see together that much with, how well he's doing. 90th percentile expected batting average when he's like chasing out of the zone at well below average rate. You don't see those together very often. Anyway, that's my pitch for Baseball Savant. It's A lot of cool information there. That's just the top of each player's page. A ton of stuff there. Play around there. I'd love to answer any questions you might have. If I know the answers, I don't always know the answers, but I'm happy to try to help. Feel free to hit me up anytime. That's going to do it for me today. Thank you for listening. Thanks for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen every day. It means the world to us. Now, for your second listen, check out the Locked On MLB podcast, where MLB expert Paul Francis Sullivan, please call him Sully, brings humor, passion, and unique perspective on every team and the biggest stories around the league. Follow the #1 daily league-wide podcast, Locked On MLB, on the Odyssey app, YouTube, and wherever you get podcasts. If you're not watching or listening to Locked On Dodgers every day, we would love it if you would add 1 or 2 days a month to your rotation. If you have friends or family who love the Dodgers as much as you do, please tell them about the show. We're always looking for new listeners, and we would love to hear your thoughts anytime about anything at all regarding the show. You can follow us on Instagram and on Twitter at Locked On Dodgers. Vince is on Twitter at Vince Samperio. I am on Twitter at Snydog, and the DMs are open in all of those places. You can also send us an email anytime you want. Our email address is lockedondodgers@gmail.com, or you can leave us a voicemail or shoot us a text at 323-863-LOCK, 5625. We are here every weekday morning, and we hope you'll be here with us. When you get in your car or sit on your couch, tell your smart device to play podcast Locked On Dodgers. And remember, you don't have to agree. You just have to listen. We'll talk to you tomorrow.